Hello. Hi. How are ya? Hi, lovelies, and thank you for being here. I'm Shannon Gioni, host of the More Than Tarot podcast, and this week we're going to be looking into manifesting. Thank you, and shout out to Lisa for the topic for this month. So what I wanted to talk about and focus on this month for the podcast and in relation to manifesting is my experience with the process of manifesting and how I go about it, my success stories, and the stuff that I'm working on. So basically, if you know me, know how I work, I'm a very analytical person. I am a very structured and organized person. I'm a head down bum up person, but you know, in terms of giving me a task and or having me focus intently or focus on anything really, it has to be in step by step. That's just how I work. I am very productive. I can get stuff done. I learn very quickly. But if in that process of learning or trying something new or beginning or changing ways of thinking and ways of doing, if I don't know step by step what's required, then it's like in one ear, out the other. You tell me once and it's locked in. I won't forget it. And that was very much my outlook with manifesting. When I first started looking into it, I didn't actually start with The Secret and all of that buzz. I didn't even watch The Secret or read it until maybe 2 years ago, I think it was. But I knew about manifesting and working with energy just in my line of work. You know, I do it every day. Energy readings, manipulation, working with spirit. I understood the foundation. I understood the process on a spiritual level. And it's almost like, let me know if you can relate to this. If I am providing guidance or showing or explaining something to somebody else, it just comes like second nature. It's almost like I just know, I have this knowing. And obviously that's a part of my spiritualism and how I work with spirit, but it's been something that has followed me my entire life. A lot of the time in my life, I would speak about different topics and different ways of doing things and subjects like I had read and learned about them verbatim since birth, when really I had skimmed over the surface and had very little understanding. But that's just kind of how my mind works at times. So even with manifesting, like I knew some of the basics without realizing that I knew some of the basics is what I'm trying to say here. And it's very easy for me to, you know, provide that insight to other people. But in application for myself, based on what I'd known, what I'd found out, what I'd researched, a lot of what I was coming in contact with for a very long time, specifically in relation to manifesting, was really wishy-washy. I just found the entire concept to be, just airy-fairy, and there was no substance to it. There was no, oh yes, well, think positively and you will get what you want in life. And I'm like, what? What a load of hocus pocus. I just, for the longest time, didn't resonate with the concept of manifesting. I'm much more of a doer. And that's not to say that, and which I'll get to that point soon, that the process of manifesting is what I perceived it to be, because it definitely isn't. But I think in a lot of the mainstream which is where some of my information was coming from, and some of the statements that I was reading online from different spiritual practitioners, it just all seemed so airy-fairy and wishy-washy. I couldn't pin anything down. I'm like, I'm not somebody that can just say to myself, and I don't think anybody is, oh, I'm going to think really happy about something, and I know that's not the way that it works, but when you start researching this and looking into it, at least for me, I found that everything that I was coming across was so just, I don't want to say basic, but was so just minimalist, I guess. Like, there was no roots to what I was reading. There was no step by step. It was just think this way and say these affirmations and you will receive what you want in your life. And I'm a doer, so I'm like, I can't just do that. I'm not going to believe that. I'm not going to trust that process, because I'm someone that needs to be taking active steps towards something. That's how my brain works. That's how I've been made. That's how I've been created and put together. When they were slotting me into packaging, that's the package they put me in. So, there had to be more in my mind. There had to be more to the process of manifesting than simply think positive about what you want. Use affirmations, use even structured affirmations, and rinse, repeat was basically what I, up until a point, understood the process of mainstream manifestation to be. Little did I know that that's not the be-all and end-all. And if you've got no idea what I'm talking about, you can have a look online, Google manifestation, and kind of go down the rabbit hole, I guess, and see what's out there. But rather than kind of talking about what it is and how to do it, I guess, in a generic kind of way, I wanted to talk about how I do it, because in a generic sense and through what I had seen mainstream, there was no doing apart from, get clear about what you want. Okay, make up or write out affirmations or find affirmations that align with what it is that you want, are seeking, desire, want to see happen in your life, and say them. That was basically the step-by-step, the process that I'd found for making things happen. But you can really take it to another level. You can really go deep with the process of manifestation. And for me, that's something that I needed to do. I can't, wholeheartedly with my mind and my body and my emotions, simply say what I want in a positive way and think, okay, job done, that's going to happen. And, some of you are going to be screaming at this and being like, that's not what they're saying. That's not what you do. And I appreciate that. And I don't for a second think that everyone out there is saying that. But in my experience, that's what I felt. That's what, when I was reading the information and when I was coming across manifestation practitioners and all the rest, whatever you want to call them, that's what I was taking away from it, unless it was, pay quad loads of money and I'll take it deeper and sort of thing. But on the surface level of things, that's what my experience was. So that just wasn't going to work for me. And it did, have me doing the work, and it did have me looking much deeper into it and watching everything that I could and talking to people. My sister's a really wonderful example of powerful oh my gosh, I speak much? Powerful manifester. She's kind of got the knack for it, I feel. Not in, anyways, she's got the knack. And I do too, but it just, I need to do it in a way that works for me. And I feel that that's the case for a lot of people. A lot of people sort of, especially if you've never worked with affirmations, if you've never worked with the power of positive thought before, and you've been somebody that's been sort of kept in a cycle and all of a sudden you're kind of coming out of that, and then you're awakening and you're realizing and understanding that there's a lot more that goes on in this universe than, you know, either we're taught or we're experienced or we're, you know, presented with. You start to realize, okay, this could be something that there's, you know, logical backing to. Even then, it's difficult to simply say, okay, well, now I'm going to attract what I want through being positive and using powerful language. You know, a lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people, it takes time to build up to that acceptance and build up to that level of awareness and that level of acceptance and that level of trust. Yeah. And that was a big one for me. So for how I go about manifesting, if it's something, you know, that really needs that attention, that needs that focus, that needs that dedication, I have to do it a bit more structured, a little bit more of a step-by-step. First of all, due to my worldview and where I come from and what I've been through and all the rest of it, which we won't get into, it's very difficult for me to, at times, even address what it is that I want. You know? Now, not so much, because I've got my step-by-step in place and I know how to go about the procedure. And procedure, it sounds very clinical. But I know the steps that I need to take in order to even get clear about what it is that I want. And I'm in the process of sharing that with other people in various different places and what have you, but it took me a long time to get to that point. So for me, even getting clearer on what it is that I'm wanting to manifest is a process. How do I go about that? It may sound counterintuitive to a lot of people, especially those that are powerful manifestors themselves. For me, I get clear first on what I don't want. What I do not want in my life. Okay, what do I not want to happen in this situation? What do I not want to see unfold? What do I not want to bring in? And then I look at it from a flipped perspective. Okay, if that's what I don't want, how can I flip that into what I do want? And that's how I get clear about what it is that I may be trying to bring in, what it is that I may need, what it is that I may truly be desiring, because it's not always as simple as, oh, that's what I want. I think for manifesting specifically, it really isn't about what you want. It's about what you need and what's going to serve your best, you know, and what's going to fulfill your outcome and put you in alignment with a life that's good for you. At least that's how I've, you know, come to experience it. So for me, the very first step in the entire process is working out exactly what it is that I desire, you know, and is that is desired going to benefit me? Is it what I need? So that's step one. From there, you know, once I've got the thing down that it is that's, you know, in my best interest and what I need, then I can go through a little bit more of the kind of more wishy-washy, I guess, in terms of how can I verbalize this desire, how can I verbalize this need in a day-to-day that, one, not only makes my conscious mind and subconscious mind begin to accept and realize that this is what I want. Through affirmations, I do use affirmations for that. I reword what the desire is in ways that can be affirmed every day, because for me, affirmations help get the rest of my body and mind and soul and spirit on board with the damn thing. You know, coming from, again, where I've come from, you know, it's not only just, you know, accepting the desire, it's then getting everything else in the vessel on board with accepting the desire as well. And yes, affirmations do that, but there's also a lot of emotional stuff that goes into the initial step of, figuring out the desire in the first place, and then setting up the affirmations. And then there's like a sequence of questions that come about, do I believe that this is a need that I can have? I have to ask that question. And again, this may be counterintuitive for some people. A lot of what I've read in terms of manifesting is not so much ignoring, and I know that the true manifestors out there are going to be like, that's not what it is. But my mind, how it works, would look at that and be like, I'm not on board with that. I need to get on board with the damn thing first before I can accept that this is coming in for me, And, basically a lot of the steps that evolve from sorting out what it is that I need, what it is that I'm bringing in, coexist with aligning the rest of me with also getting on board. And it may seem backwards, and it may seem like this chick mustn't manifest very much. But in all seriousness, I do, and I have, and quite often how I manifest comes about with little kind of structure. It's only really if I'm really working towards something. If I'm really working towards something, then it can seem like, okay, this is not happening. I need to structure this out. I need to structure this out. And typically I find resistance shows up for me when it's something that I really, really want. I really, really want it, rather than it being a need, And that's why I then need to go through the process of, okay, what is it that I really want? And how does that align with something that I really need, and breaking that down. That's when I struggle, if it's something I really want. If it's something that I need, it can happen so quickly. I'm sorry if that click just bursted your earlobes. I've manifested a car very quickly. I've manifested a beautiful home in a beautiful neighborhood very quickly. At the time, I thought that the moves, I was making so many moves. I moved 3 times in like 3 months. It was less than that. It was like 2 months. At the time, I was like, oh, I don't want to move again. I don't want to have to do this. But I didn't realize that the next move that I made was boom, into the house that I had been manifesting. I wanted a safe environment. Single mum with a child, wanted a safe environment, needed a safe environment. There we go. I wanted a home that was modern. I needed a home that wasn't falling apart. There we go. Whatever the needs were, I had the needs there, and it just sort of boom happened less than 2 months, and I was in essentially my dream home. Absolutely love it here. Been here for 2 years, going to be here for another 2 years. Another example, I moved into my dream home, and then 6 months later it went on the market, and I was like, okay, I don't want to freaking move again. I've moved, now, 2 times that year or 3 times that year. I don't want to have to move again. And then it was on the market, and I focused on, okay, it's fun. This is not going to happen. I'm going to be here. Structured it out, manifested, focused, believed, all the rest of it. And then 3 months, it was on the market for nearly 12 months. Just after it went on the market, I got a phone call. Hey, what are your plans? What do you want to do? And I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'd be happy to sign another lease, blah, 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 blah. There we go. I got another lease for another 12 months. It then come off the market 8 months after that. And I've now signed another 2-year lease, So it went from selling to no longer selling. That was a really long-winded story and a way to kind of half-ass explain that experience, but just an example of something else that had been manifested. I didn't want to move. I didn't need to move. yeah, a lot of other different things sort of went into that experience. So there's lots of other little examples that I can give you guys, and outside of kind of having any other insight into what you would like to look into in terms of manifesting, I would then suggest, if you do want to have more of a discussion, would be to check out probably the best place to go if you want to have more of a discussion. Look, you can email me direct at shannongioni@outlook.com. You can head to my website, shannongioni.com, and find my Facebook and Instagram links and reach out to me there. So if you've got any more questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them. It's kind of like this podcast is very all over the place. There's obviously no structure here, but it's a difficult process when you're kind of talking out to the cosmos without knowing exactly what's going to benefit you the most. But I feel like sharing my experience is going to potentially help. Maybe there are people out there like myself that were looking into manifesting and kind of doing what needed to be done on paper or through what they'd read, but in terms of actually believing the process and not thinking that the whole thing is just airy-fairy, I'm just saying this thing and there's nothing happening. There is active steps that you can put in place to feel like you're doing something to be helping the process. And that I feel, and you do see that a lot, but I do feel that that is one of the biggest steps for manifesting. You absolutely can't just be like, oh, well, some of you might be able to. I know I'm kind of backtracking and going across here, but some of you might be able to, but I can't. Just believe that that is what's coming in for you and be done with it. I have to take steps towards the damn thing. I have to be doing something that at least puts me in the position of feeling like I'm taking active steps. And however that will resonate for you will be determined by whatever the need is, whatever it is that you're bringing in, whatever it is that you're attracting, whatever it is that you're putting yourself in alignment with. Outside of that, say it's something that is difficult to break down and put active steps towards bringing in, then shift the focus onto your energy. How can you build your energy up to be in alignment with that thing, that desire, that need, and focus on that? Meditation, affirmations, positive thought processes, a little bit more of the airy-fairy stuff will come into play if the desire sort of goes outside yourself and being something that you can actively take steps in. In my experience with manifestation, you can always find a way to take steps, okay? It's kind of like writing the thing out, looking at it, and then going outside of yourself and seeking alternative perspective on the thing, on the need, what you're bringing in. And then from there, it will open up other possibilities for taking steps. The steps themselves don't need to be overcomplicated. And in fact, if they're not overcomplicated, you will find that you become quicker in alignment with the need, with what it is that you're attracting. Usually for myself in those instances, if the steps are more simple to achieve and overcome and work towards, then the manifestation itself, the need, comes quicker. Okay? What else? I think that's about it. I think I've chewed your ear off and confused you as much as is humanly possible. I hope I haven't confused you too much. I hope that I have, kind of broken things down a little bit more. Like I said, if you're kind of still confused and you're like, well, what is she talking about? What is the steps? Reach out to me and let me know. I'm kind of getting the buzz that this could be something that I need to put together for you guys. but we'll see how that goes. For now, I'm going to wrap things up. Like I said, if you need to find me, you can get access to everywhere I am via my direct website, shannonguioni.com, and there should be all relevant links attached to this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. And remember, for next month, if you have a theme, if you have a subject, if you have a question that you would like me to provide guidance for, do a live tarot reading on the podcast, let me know. shannonguioni@outlook.com. More than happy to do that or talk about anything that you guys want talked about. Okay, thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you all next month.